Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Can they hear me? Okay. All right, good afternoon. It is 3 p.m. on Tuesday, June 23rd. I'm going to call our town council work session to order. If you will please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. It's funny, as we approach the 250th, for some reason we say the pledge, and I pay attention to the words more than even normal. Special meeting. Okay, we are going to start our evening with our town manager's comments.
Thank you, Mayor Clement. Good afternoon, council, members of the public. Agenda this evening this afternoon is relatively straightforward. You've got a number of action items to include an appointment to the planning board, a written decision on a preliminary development plan previously adopted, two items related to the Knoll Road pedestrian improvement multi-use trail. I'm sorry about that. And then finally, the adoption of some council minutes. From there, we'll move into a brief discussion about setting a date for a public grand opening of the town hall. And then we'll have some updates from our public safety folks on both flock cameras and some ongoing discussions around fire service to the Moore County Airport. I will note, I'll be providing an update on the YMCA of the Sandhills project under item D. The agenda references Mr. Jeff Darling being present this afternoon. He will not be here. And then we'll turn it over to Director Grieve to update you on all things planning for the afternoon.
Perfect, thank you.
So are we getting back to us on the YMCA later, or what? I mean, are you?
Mac and I will have an update for you
gonna-
when we
you're
get
gonna
to
brief
that, but
us.
it's
Okay,
just that
great.
Jeff will not be present this
Thank
afternoon.
you. Okay.
Thank you for everyone who is in attendance this evening. As a quick reminder, because it's a work session, we do not have public comment. And for my council members, you'll see that we do have one person who's left us some information
that.
with contact info at the top to get back to her. All right, moving on to our action items, we are filling the ETJ position for our planning board. Did you want to say anything? Okay, we have Reverend Dr. David Hudson has submitted an application. All I need is either a motion or discussion.
I make a motion that we accept Dr. Hudson's application to be an ETJ member of the planning board.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's a quick council meeting with three council members. Just as a reminder, is this ETJ position fulfilling the end of someone's term, or is it a full?
Yes, I believe it is. Jason Scribner.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Scribner's, I think about last 2 years. BJ, am I correct in recalling that?
Scheduled to end February 10th of 28. That's what the notes say.
All right, perfect. All right, thank you. All right, moving on, the motion passed, moving on to item B, the written decision for Care Pines Phase 1. And I did run it by our attorney that after viewing the council meeting, I am allowed to vote on this. So we have at least a majority if we all vote in favor. Were there any questions on the written decision? All right, hearing none, is there a motion?
There are two separate written decisions.
Would you like one motion for both or separate?
Separate motions.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve PD-03-26.
I'm not interested in making that motion.
Okay. And then I move to accept PD-3-26.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
I will offer the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now I need a motion to approve
That was
It was unanimous, yes.
I was there. I don't want to make the motion.
MAPP 01-26. I'll move to approve MAPP 01-26. Is there a second?
And I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we have a request to approve supplemental agreement for EB-5864 Knoll Road pedestrian improvements.
I will offer on this one, this is nothing more than, you may recall in the past, you have entered into agreements with the NCDOT regarding the multi-use path. Now that it has been bid, the budget has been finalized, they simply needed to provide the supplemental agreement that increased that budget. It does not involve any additional town financial information. It's just purely this updates the amount that DOT is offering in order to complete the project. And item D following it is an amendment of the capital project fund to recognize those DOT funds that have been offered to complete the project. So this does not move any town dollars around in any way. It's just simply completing the agreement with DOT and then recognizing the dollars DOT is offering so that we can finalize the contract.
Okay.
The only thing we're voting on is an increase in money that is funded specifically by DOT with no cost locally.
That is correct.
Are there other questions? Is there a motion? How about I will move to approve EB-5864, the Knoll Road pedestrian improvements, the supplemental agreement.
And I second that.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now the request for the budget amendment for Knoll Road Multi-Use Trail grant funding and related expenditures. Is this the same thing?
This, as a result of what you just approved, which was recognizing, or of entering into the supplemental agreement that DOT will pick up those additional dollars, this now changes our internal budget to recognize those revenues that will come from the state.
Okay. Are there questions? All right, hearing none. Would you like me to make a motion?
Please.
Move to approve the budget amendment for Knoll Road Multi-Use Trail grant funding and related expenditures.
I second that.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we have our town council meeting minutes. You all had a chance to look over the minutes.
I have.
Do you have questions?
I do, but I think it's more of a roundtable. My question is the issue in the May 12th, and it's perfectly stated in Beth, everything is flawless, but I'm wondering about in roundtable, I want to follow up on the sewer odors that are happening in West Southern Pines and whether or not anybody's made a phone call about that, and if not, why not, and what we can do to assist folks. So I think I'm out of order right now, and I've got that on my roundtable list to talk
It's
about.
fine to
but,
mention now.
We'll move forward with that at the proper time.
Okay. All right, that being said, would you like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'm happy to make a motion that we approve the minutes from May 12, 2026 that have been compiled by the very meticulous and perfect Beth.
Thank you.
I second that.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. By the way, we were also voting in favor of the compliment because it was part of the motion. Just want you to know.
Perfection is
Okay,
now
good.
your badge, yes.
All right, so we are now moving on to our council updates and discussion. We have our town hall grand opening date. How are you doing today, Courtney?
Hello, everyone. So staff is ready to host a grand opening of the town hall, and we just have some recommended dates for council.
Okay.
First one would be Thursday, August 6th. This would be a 4 to 7 p.m. kind of come and go, open door thing. The next option is Monday, August 10th, and Thursday, August 13th. Is there a preference from council?
So I know Reagan had mentioned we had a preference mentioned by our two gentlemen who are not here. But before we hear that, do you all have a preference?
I don't necessarily, I'm interested always in what the school calendar is, and you'll be able to speak to that more than I will, because sometimes there's a last minute vacation, let's get those kids out of town.
The
for
whole
more
month of
run.
August, yeah. So we
Yes.
actually, Moore County Schools does not go back until the 25th.
Right.
And so all of this is over 2 weeks before.
Does Montessori track the same schedule as Moore County?
We do.
And how about your school?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but I have not created our school calendar for next year yet, but we usually go kind of early, so the 6th is a little bit better for me, I think.
6 is your
It's my better day,
preference?
yeah.
Only thing that would be a conflict was on the, oh, no, the 10th is Monday. Yeah, so we don't have any conflicts. The two gentlemen had mentioned the 13th.
Oh,
Did they say,
Preference or the 13th was the issue?
Both replied to me. Their preference was the 13th. Mr. Pate specifically said any of the dates worked for him. The only reply I got from Councilman Curtin was that he was good with the 13th. So he did not state he had a conflict on the other 2 dates, but he didn't state that he didn't either, so.
I can make any of those work. I think it's your call. You okay with the 13th?
No, yeah, I can work with, basically because it's 4 to 6. Anything I do is going to be a lot earlier than that, so, yeah, that's fine, yeah. I'll go with the group.
That's been requested by our colleagues.
Okay. Would you like to give us a brief overview of the plans? Or are you not ready for that?
We needed to narrow down the date, so the next step will be, we want it to be all access, this is a great opportunity for the public to come and other staff members come, and you kind of have an open door policy to the closed doors on a normal day-to-day. So see the different offices and very interactive, family-friendly, things like that, and kind of show a little glimpse into what we do on a day-to-day basis.
Okay. My understanding is that the council chambers will be open. Is that right?
is the plan,
Okay.
yes.
And that our seats will be there if children wanted to go and sit in council seats and take pictures, they
Correct.
could. Okay. I think that's awesome, yeah.
So actually, if you've chosen the 13th, you will have held your first council meeting
Oh, nice.
2 nights prior on the 11th of August.
Okay. All right, very good. Thank you. Let us know if you need anything else from us.
Thank you, Courtney.
All right, we have Chief Polidori here to speak about flock cameras. I know I had received a few questions from the public. I don't know if you all have as well.
Many questions.
Okay, fabulous. Chief, if you have a quick update for those who are either in attendance or watching on YouTube, what the flock cameras are and what they do, that'd be great.
Okay. We have 8 cameras, LPR cameras around town and mostly main corridors around the roadways in town. It's been a very good tool for us. And the premise of the camera is it's a license plate reader that takes a photograph at a point in time. It's not a video, it's just a still image of basically every car that goes by on the highway of the rear of the vehicle. License plate, if you get an alert, it's a zoomed in picture of the license plate, an overview of the rear of the vehicle, and the only information on an alert is the license plate, the reason, and the reason could be on an alert, wanted person, stolen vehicle, missing person, violent gang offender, whatever it may be, whatever's been entered into NCIC. So there's no query into the DMV system, so it doesn't give you any information as far as who owns a vehicle, address, tax county, anything like that. It's just a picture of the license plate. So it's pretty basic information. It's not intrusive at all.
Then you all would have to go in and enter in your database to find
Correct.
additional information. Okay.
Right. So I'll kind of get to that part in a minute.
Okay.
It's a good tool for us, one, if we are looking for a specific vehicle from a stolen vehicle in town and one of them in our jurisdiction, right? We enter that in NCIC, and if it goes by any flock camera anywhere, it alerts that local law enforcement agency of however it's entered in NCIC. It's also a very good retroactive tool for us for criminal investigations, where let's just say we had a robbery downtown and we have a basic description of a vehicle. We can search that information in Flock, the network, and it could be by license plate, it could be by descriptors of a vehicle. And you can narrow that search down to your own network, pick the state, pick a county, pick the nation if you're tied into however many networks you're sharing with. And that's actually helped us quite a bit over the time, where we were able to identify vehicles passed in other people's jurisdictions by their flock cameras. But again, all it is a photograph of a vehicle. It's not a vehicle, and it doesn't automatically track a car just because you put it in.
Can you offer a specific example of that helping you? in that
Sure.
instance?
Well, we have outcomes, or what they're called, and you can track them in the system where you pull up when you look at outcomes, and as long as an officer or detective went in and said an outcome it was a success using the Flock system. We've had robberies, a very recent one where a detective used the system. We've had, gosh, what was that homicide one? What year was that?
Well, we've had homicides, but, you know, most recently, like Lowe's Home Improvement.
Yeah.
We've had, you know, a detective that was assigned to follow up on multiple larcenies that reported or were reported by Lowe's Home Improvement. And by being able to use the system, being able to identify the vehicle and then who was operating the vehicle later through other investigative means. Whereas the system doesn't tell you who's driving it, but they were able to use that information, the images from inside the business, if you will, and were able to, you know, track that person down, not necessarily track them physically in the car, but being able to narrow down who it was and obtain warrants and clear a lot of cases doing that.
So the flock camera that's on at the entrance of Lowe's is Southern Pines owned?
No, anything at Lowe's is, we have one camera.
Okay,
Lowe's has their own.
okay.
Yeah,
Do they have access to that information?
not our information. They can share with us. Law enforcement can't share the opposite direction to them.
Okay,
Yep,
all right, so they have it for their own purposes and they
correct.
collect data, okay.
Yeah, they can share, private entities can share with law enforcement, but not the other way.
Okay,
Yeah. Other than that, and again, the search feature has been really good for us. It's a very good investigative tool, and I think we get a lot of good use out of it. And you know, the biggest bonus, I think, is it's not just our cameras. When we're tied into a network with other law enforcement agencies, we all have access to that data in the search. So going into the search, as long as an officer has been trained through Flock, they have a training program for it, and they have an active account in our system or Flock account, then they can search. It doesn't take any kind of, I have to go to my supervisor and ask to use Flock first. As long as they're trained and have their, you know, their paper that says they finished the training, they can go in and search. But there has to be a reason. It's redundant, it's built into Flock software, but our policy also requires it. You have to have a case number, you have to have a reason, and you also have to have what type of crime. And there's a pick list that they choose from. It could be anything from an animal complaint down to a robbery, right? You have to meet those three criteria before you can even hit the search button.
Okay.
So it's
and when they meet those three search criteria and they go to enter information, sorry, I'm stumbling. There's a place where they put that in or they take a record of why they're using it?
in the search. As soon as you hit the search tab
They
that you
fill out
want to
that.
search, that's the first three
Okay,
things that have to be fulfilled before you can go any further.
okay, great.
So, other than that, there's no facial recognition software. It doesn't take pictures of people driving. Think toll booths on the highways. There's always the picture of the front of your car and your face and the rear of the car. That is actually, I mean, that's DMV information, really, for toll booth stuff. That's how you get your ticket in the mail, or if you didn't pay a fine. But Flock there's no access to any DMV information. There's no alerts to expired registration, expired insurance, expired inspection stickers, nothing like that. And we also have we're an accredited agency, so we basically have a policy for everything. So we have an LPR policy, and we built into that policy, take the alert. A vehicle passes by our camera on East Indiana Avenue and alert triggers and says, stolen vehicle. And an officer goes out there or is in the area, sees that vehicle. Well, that alert in itself isn't enough reason to stop it. It is by a court ruling, it's reasonable suspicion, but we say, hey, the policy reads, you get the alert, you verify first visually that the tag numbers and the state of origin match, right? Because it might have been a mistake in the system when it was entered by an agency, right? So to verify that, either on their laptop or dispatch, call in and make sure they run the plate and that actually is a wanted or stolen vehicle. Okay? And then after that, it becomes, then there's your reasonable suspicion or probable cause to stop. So it's not just, hey, we got a flock alert, go stop that yellow car. Okay? So there's just a built-in redundancies in there for us. So.
Chief, could you also address you talked about the policies and you've talked a little bit about what becomes ultimately the audit trail, but the audits that you do internally
Yes.
to verify proper use of the system?
Correct. Our written directive, and it's Captain Marsh, he's the operations captain, every month he has to audit the system. So that's every single search that we've done for that month. And it has the reason, the crime, and a case number, and the officer who did it. So I would imagine I would hope everybody's doing an audit who's using the system, but we definitely do an audit. Yeah. And, gosh, what am I missing there, Cap?
You know, the audits have not generated, I'm sorry, the audits have not generated issues. You know, for an example, our most recent audit for May, 205 inquiries, 32% of those, 66 of those inquiries were for a missing person. Now, it wasn't that it was over 30 days we're searching for the same thing, but that was, you know, multiple officers that were working, searching different networks, trying to locate that particular vehicle. And that was someone suffering a medical issue. The daughter left her elderly mother in the car, and the mom drove off with it. And we were able to use the flock system to help locate her.
Thank you.
And was that a referral from our county, or was that a referral in a networked county?
When you say referral,
I mean, is that
that
something?
was one of our cases.
That was one of our cases. And then, once it became apparent that was one of our cases, is there an automatic referral out to a network of other counties?
So what would happen in a situation like that is our dispatch center, we would request that they send a BOLO and be on the lookout, you know, to a certain radius, 50 miles, 100 miles, with the vehicle description, tag information, things of that nature. That person would then be entered as a missing person, and by being entered as a missing person, that goes into the NCIC bank. NCIC is what's tied to Flock. That's where Flock gets its information for alerts. It never got to that point. We were able to use the system, searching it ourselves for that particular plate, for that vehicle, and was able to determine what direction they went and how.
So I know there's questions about who owns the data and how long it's kept. We own it. Flock doesn't own our data. It's ours. We choose who we share with, which networks, which law enforcement agencies. And Flock, we don't have a choice. Flock deletes it in 30 days. So the only way to extend that is with a preservation order. I can't think of a time that we've used it for preservation order, have we?
Yeah, we've never used a preservation order to extend beyond 30 days. They would then, if so, they would then hold it for 90, but then we have to follow up with either a court order, search warrant, or something else to justify that extension. But that is something we've never done.
Thank you.
So, go ahead, sorry,
No.
my bad.
No. You said the audits are done monthly, every 30 days, but then the system deletes the information, so maybe I'm missing something.
The information that we can't take a license plate from a vehicle was taken had a picture, it'll be gone in day 31. So we can't go back and search anything that was captured in the system more than 30 days. Our audit trail goes longer than that, but as far as the photos of vehicles, of license plates,
Oh, got you.
when day 30 hits, they start getting deleted off.
So the audit trail is information that our officers have put in can be audited for an extended amount. Okay. All right.
It's basically an audit of accessing the system and utilizing it, not so much of the picture itself.
Correct. Yes, that's right. Yeah, thank you.
And so if somebody uses the system because they have a personal grievance and they put in someone's license plate and just make up a reason, I'm sure it's a good reason, they'll just make up a good one. But then you all go to audit it. Do they have a chance to delete that search before you can audit it?
You can't delete it.
Okay, all right, good.
And on that note, I know that, I know it's out there online and, some of the concerns about it, but think of it this way. One, we do our own audit. If we find there's somebody using the system inappropriately, it goes to internal affairs. And then if that's a sustained complaint and there was misconduct, then we just follow the town's disciplinary process, which
So
up
we
to
just
and
file,
including
sorry,
termination.
we just do what? We follow?
Oh, our disciplinary process
Okay.
through the internal affairs.
That was one of my questions, is the punitive nature. I'll be honest, we talked about this at budget meeting, and I regret that I did not, well, number one, I regret I wasn't in better shape at budget meeting, was struggling medically, but I also have done a little bit of research and I'm really concerned. And I'm sure you probably at this point are aware of the article out of UNC, out of School of Government, that warns about constitutional issues and concerns surrounding flock cameras.
No, we just had a Fifth Circuit appellate ruling the other day that there's no expectation of privacy on a public road, so there's no search warrant requirement, there's no Fourth Amendment violation by using the system.
Right, which brings up my next concern is apparently there are systems that you can couple eventually with the Flock system that would read not only my license plate, but also my smartwatch and my iPhone and my computer and anything else I had in my car.
I'm not aware of anything like that.
It's, nor was I until I did a little research. That concerns me very much, and also concerns me that we, the five of us on the council, have made a decision that I don't feel like we were well enough versed in, that creates a surveillance issue for constituents. So while I understand your concern, and I understand that I'm hearing the side of the issue that if there's a robbery downtown and BJ doesn't happen to be available with his drone, that, which has solved another case, I think, in the past. Thank you, BJ. But I think that, that certainly is a valid law enforcement concern about it. I'm coming from a constituent's perspective, and the lack of probable cause that's come up in situations that sort of shifted a burden that flies in the face of innocent until proven guilty. For example, in Pensacola, I understand that tickets are being issued based on license plate, and that ticket is going directly to the owner of the car. And so what happens in that case is I loan my car to Betty Boop around the block, and she goes and runs a stop sign, and I get a ticket, and then the burden falls to me. I'm not innocent until proven guilty. I'm guilty until I can unravel that big mess. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. I'm a little bit concerned about,
Can I answer that one?
yes, shifting the burden. Yes, please.
Again, the system doesn't alert you or even know if the car has an expired registration.
Right?
So,
You said that,
and
yeah.
for us, we don't mail tickets to anybody. If it's
Not yet. That may
I
be
don't
what
think
you're
that's legal in North Carolina, actually.
it's-
That is a tool that is used in some other states. They'll do the, oftentimes, the traffic light
Exactly. Traffic
things have been a
jams.
big issue for a long time, but I don't think that's legal anywhere in North Carolina.
There's a push for school zones.
Okay.
There's vendors out there now that are marketing it, and you can buy into something like that, and they put a color radar mounted in a school zone, and people will get a ticket in the mail. But it's nothing we've even had discussions about.
Yeah, I have a real problem with the ticket being issued based on a license plate number. If,
Does Flock have the ability to do that, to speed control?
No,
or
nothing with
check
speed,
Okay.
nothing. Again, it's just taking a picture of a license plate on a public road.
So it's going
not
to take,
feeding you any make, model, who owns it, where they live, does it have current inspection, does it have current registration? It doesn't give us any of that information. We would have to choose to run that for a reason.
okay, so if I work for you and I am on your staff and I have been certified to run with the Flock system, and I am married and believe that my spouse is having an affair, and I create a reason to track that license plate number, clearly that's an unethical thing for me to do.
Correct, yes.
Right. What is a punitive, number one, you say there's an audit, so hopefully I would get called out. And number two, if I do get called out, what's the punitive nature of that? And I want a real specific answer, not just we would follow the,
Well, it's kind of hard to pigeonhole
right?
without, because all situations are different. But if somebody is nefariously using a network to
Right.
stalk someone, I would say certainly termination.
Right?
And then depending on how far it's gone, it could lead to criminal charges.
I was going to say, would you go so far as to criminally charge
It
someone?
wouldn't be
with
me
it?
charging, that would be, independent investigation by, say, the SBI.
So that would be, in that case, if you had an ethical violation within the department, that would be a referral to SBI, and they would determine whether or not to pursue criminal charges against the person who had used the system nefariously,
Again, it's a lot of what ifs.
right? I
Right,
understand.
so-
Yeah, these are what wake me up at night,
If it's
though.
ethical and there's nothing criminal,
Mm-hmm.
then you deal with that internally.
Right,
If there's something that rises to the level of a criminal violation, that is where we would consult with the district attorney and potentially the SBI doing that investigation.
The victim of that scenario, do they find out?
They need to find out, yeah.
Okay,
of
so they would,
course.
they would find out through us or through the
Well, for
SBI?
us, yeah, of course,
Okay.
yeah. And then, the SBI, once the SBI takes a case, they typically run with it. We have input, but of course, yeah, we would have to notify that person.
Okay.
Who issues a preservation order? Is that your department that would issue a 90-day preservation order?
No, I think we can make that request. I'm not very briefed on that because we just haven't done it. We've never had a need to do it.
Seems like if that's the system, we ought to be aware of how we would work that.
Well, how a preservation
Okay.
order works is we would make a request. So most likely, if we're ever going to request preservation of data, no
Right.
different than if we're doing preservation of data, say in a homicide case with cell phone data.
Right?
We send a preservation request to the carrier. In this instance, it would be a preservation request to Flock.
Lock.
That would
You're-
be, that
you're-
would be handled by our investigations division. They would be the only ones here, unless it was related to something, internal affairs or whatnot, then that would be the administration division here. That would be the only folks that would be requesting preservation of data and then following up with the court process to obtain that data.
But everything is in-house. It's either the administrative division or the investigative division who would make that request.
For the request, but then, correct me if I'm wrong, then it would follow the court orders after that.
Right, and the court order, would the court order be ex parte? And which court would you go to pursue the court order?
So a court order that we would seek would be within our county judicial system. But anytime that we are seeking records such as this, or like the example I gave for cell data or something like that, we would go and meet with a Superior Court judge with a court process, present them with the facts, and they would be the ones to find probable cause or to deny probable cause and deny the order.
And that would not be the person who we were pursuing in that case would not be notified. That would be, in fact, an ex parte communication with a Superior Court judge in regard to a preservation order.
You mean we'll call it the suspect in the case?
Right? Or the wronged spouse, if there was an abuse of power, which people are people.
It would be very difficult. I'm not going to say anything's out of the realm of possibility. It would be incredibly difficult for something to rise to the level of obtaining court orders, supported by probable cause. We also have policies in place to when officers are going to obtain a search warrant and how they are to go about doing that, who has to review that paperwork before it gets submitted to a judicial official. Someone overrank someone through the investigations division and things of that nature. When court processes are served, so let's use a search warrant, for example. If we prepare an affidavit for a search warrant and application, present that to a Superior Court judge or to a magistrate, a district court judge, a judicial official, there has to be a return on that to the clerk of court. There is a copy, left with the judicial official, the court copy, if you will, and then the original that gets served, whether it be on a business or, in a situation like this, through Flock Corporate or whatever, there has to be a return of service. And that return of service to the clerk's office is public record.
The return itself is public record. Is the information that is sought public record? Or is it sealed?
Are you speaking of the affidavit that would go before the
That
court?
would,
It would all be part of it. Now, the results that come back, if it's part of a criminal investigation, it would not be subject to public record if it's part of an ongoing criminal investigation, at least initially.
right.
All right, I've got another line of questioning, unless you got one, okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so we don't have the access, the information is ours, we own the data, but we have access to it through a search tool.
Yes.
If the system got hacked, I don't know how these things happen, but if it got hacked, is there a chance that someone has access to all of that data for 30 days or potentially longer without using a search tool? Without using our search tool?
When you're saying the data was hacked, so audits, you can go online now. There are websites today to where people have filled out, public information requests in other states and whatnot.
Okay.
And that audit data has been turned over and then in turn uploaded to these sites.
Yeah, that's not really what I'm looking for, I guess. I'm looking
Talking
for,
about images and things of that nature,
Yeah.
we're told that after 30 days, the data is deleted, and according to Flock, they've never been hacked.
okay, but within that 30 days, there are 30 days worth of images of every license plate that is driven by.
Correct.
And if somebody got into it, it would be, they could access 30 days worth.
If it was hacked, I guess, yeah.
Okay.
But again, we rely on what our vendor says, that they've never been hacked. They follow CJIS protocols for arresting traffic and in and out traffic with the data. So, like anything else, VPN related the town uses or any other organization, we rely on the network and the vendor says you're secure.
Okay. I just imagine our data alone is not that much, but if someone hacks into a system like that, then they get everyone's data. I mean, I assume that it's all tied together somewhere at Flock headquarters.
It's cloud-based.
Yeah, okay.
But again, Flock tells us they've never been hacked.
Okay.
Has anyone audited Flock?
From this organization?
No, has anyone anywhere audited Flock? Flock is selling us something.
I'm not aware of any organization that's audited Flock themselves.
Chief, we we have had excellent service from this department since you've been here.
Thank you.
I don't think it's a secret. I met with you even when you first started the job because I wanted to know who you were. George Floyd had just died. There were things going on in the nation, and I said, okay, this is where I live, and I need to know. So I trust both of you, and you as well, sir. Do you really feel this particular device is, I don't want to say necessary, let's say extremely helpful in you doing your job? Is that what you?
Yeah, does the reward outweigh the risk?
Yeah.
I would say absolutely. Yeah, we have no known risk at this point. Right? We know that it's not a violation of the law to take a picture of a license plate. We know that. We know to this point in time that Flock has never been hacked, so we're not concerned about data and security. And I also know that if for some reason it was hacked and we were alerted to that, then we can mitigate that right through Flock, right?
How do we mitigate that? Do we just turn off our cameras?
Well, it's not a turn off. I think the very first thing you could do is, I would imagine, put a bag over it or just take it off the pole, right, or unplug it.
Okay.
So
If I could go back to the data for one moment. Flock is actually maintaining pictures of these license plates. All other identifying data is actually via the tie to NCIS. Am I incorrect in understanding that? So, I mean, if I'm looking for something to hack, I'm probably looking for credit card information or maybe personally identifying information that might be in the NCIS system, but is there anything in the Flock system other than these pictures of license plates?
There's not anything contained in that system that you can't find by driving down the road or standing on a street corner.
Right.
And the only thing that is within the NCIC system, it's not directly tied as in basically a license plate. If that particular vehicle, that license plate.
Is tied to an
belongs-
event, a missing person, a crime that occurred. Like, not everybody's going to show up in the NCIC system. It had to have been entered there as a result of an incident. Could have been a crime, could have been a missing person, but that's all in the NCIC system, not necessarily this Flock database of pictures.
yes, yeah, they get the information from NCIC, and that's what gives us an alert for a plate.
I guess from my perspective, it is a yeah, confidentiality issue that I feel like citizens are concerned about. I think per Deborah's question, I mean, I think from what you're saying, agree with you that right now the reward does outweigh the risks, but I think I would like the conversation to be ongoing so that as people come to us with questions, we can continue to reach out. And systems evolve, and if it evolves or changes in some way, I want to make sure that we're maintaining control of any information that's being collected from our streets.
I understand.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand the concern. But there's also a lot of stuff on social media or on the internet that's not factual.
Yeah, no, I think that's why it's important that we have just an open conversation that's ongoing. So as something comes up, we can respond.
Sure.
And if I get an email, I'll send it to you and ask for clarification and then answer it. Okay.
But glad to help. Honestly, it's a great tool for law enforcement. It's a great tool for us. And if there is a concern, I would like to address it up front.
Yep.
Right? And at least to the people who will listen to us, right, in town or
Yeah.
people whoever wants to read it. But yeah, I don't want it to seem like it's a secretive tool that we have.
Sure.
Yeah, I've been uncomfortable with the fact that it just became a part of the budget and we all said, okay, yes, the police department wants it, but we never had a conversation with the public because this is an object of surveillance of them. I'm not comfortable with that, and I'm not comfortable with shifting the burden of proof, which I think it could ultimately do. And I'm not comfortable with the fact that I have probable cause issues with it. I think and I think it's a very new issue, and I think it's something that there's a lot of literature out there on it. You couple it with other programs and you say to date we have not, but if that's the next step and if you can get my license plate and therefore it ties to my smartwatch and my cell phone, not that there's anything that would be a problem for you to see in that case, but that's really none of your business.
You read an article with that somewhere? Where was that at?
So we've got American Civil Liberties Union is on it, UNC is on it. I can send you what I've been working on.
Yeah, I'd be interested in those too. I've not seen the particular articles. The technology that you're talking about, though, sounds very, very familiar to technology that, for instance, the NCDOT's been using for a very long time.
Right.
I mean, we've all read stories about traffic counts and different studies that have been done at the traffic circle, since
Right.
that's a big topic. And they've been tracking cell phone data and movement for a very long time to determine point of origin, can I imagine a scenario where law enforcement takes this tool and then maybe accesses a tool dealing with cell phone data?
Cell phone
That
data.
sounds like an investigative effort to me.
Well, it
Not
sounds like
aware of where they
surveillance.
tie together in any
Yeah.
particular software or.
Right. Right. I mean, I can put together what I have, but
Just read it.
there have been lots of issues that have come up, and there's been lots of concerns that I've heard from the public. And yes, social media is full of misinformation. I will certainly stand by that comment, but I tend to think that folks coming out of School of Government probably have researched pretty well and have their concerns. And if you have a Fifth Circuit decision that sidelines the Fourth Amendment as an issue, I'm not sure that sidelines the Fourth Amendment as an issue in my mind, just because the court has said, no problem, don't worry about it. So yeah, I'm happy to share information. I feel like we jumped at this really quickly, and I feel like if there is an issue that subjects constituents to surveillance, that then constituents should have an opportunity to ask questions and be heard in regards to their concerns.
Are you getting specific inquiries about the term surveillance? Because it's not tracking a person.
Not yet,
It's just a picture of a license plate.
right, not yet.
So it's not smart enough to go, okay, every single license plate, we're going to follow it all over the place. I mean, we have to
Right,
Put that search parameter in for a reason if we want to
right.
try to locate a vehicle. Yeah, there's no facial recognition, there's no ties to DMV records, driver's license, or vehicle history, anything.
Not yet.
So I think what might be useful is if you want to share those with the chief.
Right.
And if he would like to
Agreed.
respond.
Right.
Maybe just copy all of us on the response to it. That'd be great.
I'd like to read it and see where the information.
At this point, I regret that I didn't ask more questions. I'm not afraid to say I might have blown it. I regret that I didn't ask more questions when this first came up. So
This has been in place for
it's been in place for a while.
Sometime around, I think we went in the ground with the first set of cameras in spring of '24,
yeah.
is that right?
And then we'll also get you a copy of that ruling from the Fifth Circuit, because that's been in the last 10 days, maybe. It's been very recent,
Okay,
so.
great, thank you.
Anything else?
I think your suggestion about keeping an open dialogue for any residents who have had questions or concerns or whatever. I haven't heard, I even went to double check on my email. I haven't gotten any comments, no questions, no queries, nothing. So,
Mayor, did we address all the questions that you had?
I think you did. I think a lot of them were built into your initial introduction, but if something else comes up, then I'll reach out.
Very well.
Thank you. Thanks.
thank you.
Okay. Moving on to our other safety team, we have the update from the fire service about fire coverage at the Moore County Airport. Good afternoon. Got to check my watch to see what time of day it is.
It's still afternoon.
Still afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are y'all today?
Mr. Manager Cameron?
Yeah. Hey, you had a memo in your packet, and some of you've heard some of this, and I'll give you a little bit of the background. As you may know, the Moore County Airport is inside the Southern Pines Fire District. We provide fire protection, among a few other services, to the airport already through our contract with the county via covering our district. The airport has actually been in our district since 2018, so it's been there for a little while. We're very fortunate we don't have a lot of incidents out there, but we do respond out there a few times a year for different things. One of the things that has been ongoing for the last, I'll say, 3 years is the attempt to get commercial service into Moore County. One of the things that, and we've had some discussions over that 3 years, we've never made any commitments because we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't put this at the forefront of any of our discussions. But we have had some preliminary roundtable discussions over the last 3 years. A couple of months ago, the executive director for the airport called to have a meeting. Myself and the deputy fire chief met with them at the airport in references. They, as you know by now, they have secured at least one airline, and there is the potential for a second airline. The first airline is scheduled to start providing service late spring, early summer of '27. As part of that, as you can imagine, FAA Part 139, which is the licensing part of this, requires them to have fire protection. So we have got a preliminary handshake agreement in our discussions how Southern Pines can provide that. Ultimately, this becomes an MOU or a contract between us and them at basically a no cost to the town of Southern Pines. Anything that we do for them has to be reimbursed at our rate. So basically what that means is once that service starts, what we're proposing is they're going to provide the fire station, which they already have. They're going to provide the fire apparatus. They're going to provide all of the equipment. All of that will be handled. We will provide the staffing for that. And what they're requesting, which is pretty traditional for airports, is one firefighter during that time frame before the plane comes in until the plane departs, at an extra duty rate of pay that the firefighters compensated. We will not use existing personnel on staff. It's not something we're interested in doing. We're not going to pull somebody off a fire truck to staff that fire truck. So it will be people that are above and beyond what we would normally have working. Furthermore, as part of that is everybody that works out there has to have a separate certification. The way that's set up is you already have to have your baseline certifications and your baseline fire certifications and medical certifications, which all of our staff already have that. There's an additional class, which is basically 52 hours of class that has to be provided to our members. They are willing to pay for that as well. So they know they're going to take that on. We have worked out this class tentatively now. The instructor has been assigned. It is an agreement between Santos Community College, Stanley Community College, and the Office of State Fire Marshal. The reason Stanley's involved in it is because the training facility specific to what we need is in Stanley County. Yes, ma'am?
When you say they're willing to pay for that, are they willing to pay for the instruction? Or are they willing to pay for the
All of it.
52 hours that
All-
somebody actually has to sit in class?
So,
You're going to
so
hit that?
I am. So
right, thank
I'll go ahead and hit that. So what we've agreed to is that we feel like it will take a minimum of 12 certified people to handle that. So we've agreed at this point in time, they're going to pay for those 12 people at the overtime rate. Surprisingly, the community college system has come back and said, because they're looking for people to attend this class, the community college system, there is going to be no cost to us to do the class, just the overtime rate for our folks to attend the class. We also, the Southern Pines Fire Department runs one specialty class every year for certification. We have that built into our budget. We've been doing that for probably close to 15 years. We're going to make this our specialty class. So instead of just getting 12 people certified, we're going to take up the other part of that through our budgeting process, and we want everybody in the fire department to be certified because that gives us another level of education, gets everybody on the same page. So if you do have an incident, those other firefighters are coming in who may not be working there are just as familiar with the airport, just as familiar with airport operations and airport rescue and firefighting as anyone else.
So I like that it takes care of your continuing education requirement.
Yep.
And I like that the community college wants to partner and that would not be a cost. I'm still concerned about an additional 52 hours that everybody has to put in. And
We're going to pay them for it.
you say it again?
We're going to pay them for it.
We're going to pay for that.
We're going to pay for part of them. But we do this every year. This is not something new to us. We run a specialty class every year. The longest class we ever ran was 64 hours. If we do a confined space class, we do a trench rescue class, classes are 64 hours, and we schedule it. We've already got the schedule built out. People know when they're going to class, so it's pretty standard stuff for us.
Okay.
It'll cost us less than normal because they're going to pay
They're
for
paying for
12 of the
12.
people.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
Okay, and the college is paying.
This is a
for this.
reimbursement.
Okay,
That is correct. So we've worked those details out.
okay.
So it'd be a total of how many people taking this?
The hope would be that we have about 40 people from Southern Pines taking this class.
Certified.
Yes, ma'am.
Does that, Mike, is that including the 12?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, got you, 40 total.
And note that training and that certification then offers them all the opportunity to actually sign up for these shifts and make
Right.
extra duty dollars outside of their normal shifts with the
So
fire
that would
department.
be-
So there's a little bit of a benefit there also from a retaining
For
standpoint.
essential workers to be able to do additional. It's a
Exactly.
It becomes a side gig that they are paid directly by the airport authority.
Well, they are paid by us. The
By us.
airport pays,
Reimbursement.
the airport pays the town. That way they're covered for workers' compensation,
Okay.
liability, and all of those types of things that
Working there, they're still an employee of the town. We're still supervising them. And here's the thing, in an emergency at the airport, what's going to happen then is obviously the rest of our guys are going to that too. So we're ultimately responsible for those things at the airport anyway. So now that just gives us some additional training, probably some additional equipment that we're working with. So we've worked through those things.
very much mirrors a lot of the extra duty police
Right.
stuff we've been doing for years.
No, that's great. And they are going to pay, whether it is your regular base pay for 40 hours or 36, whatever fire workers do. But they're also agreeing to pay the overtime if that is relevant. in
That's
that
on the
case.
training side of it. For the actual hours spent at the airport under the contract, it will be at our extra duty rate.
Rate, okay,
Which covers all of that. And we will bill the airport once a month
okay,
for reimbursement
okay.
for the actual hours worked.
But it's a nice opportunity for essential workers, firefighters, to be able to earn some extra income.
Absolutely. That's
Okay.
correct.
So let's say they don't. Is there any potential that we have to hire additional firefighters?
So one of the things that I've asked our attorney to put in the contract is what happens is if this outgrows the matrix that we're currently using.
I saw that. Yeah.
Let's say there's more flights per day coming in than they anticipated, or that's doing better than anticipated. If that happens, then the contract says, hey, we go back and renegotiate what's going on. Is there a potential to have to hire full-time people? In the furthest imagination, absolutely. There's lots of airports that have had to do that. Does that happen here? You know, they're talking about initially 1 flight a day, 7 days a week, 1 flight in, 1 flight out. Could that be 2 flights in, 2 flights out? Sure, it could be. Does that overwhelm us? I don't think that overwhelms us with 2 a day.
Okay. And you feel like the 65 rate, yeah, that covers the cost for us?
That is the rate that between finance and administration every year, that is the rate they have put on that hourly rate. Will that change next year at this time? Very possibly. You know how that.
And that extra duty rate is one that we review internally each year after we take a look not only at internal increases that take place, but also the things outside of our control, be it workers' compensation, be it retirement rates that change at the state level. So there is an amount in there that is basically the take home for the officer, and then there's the overhead and things that are above and beyond that. So that rate is $65 as of July 1.
And so the extra duty rate would stand outside of the time and a half rate that would be mandated federally.
That is correct.
Okay, then 2 questions on considerations that were in our packet, one of which is requiring the airport to purchase 2 sets of firefighter PPE, and then also provisions for periodic review.
So a couple of things. One is the PPE. I put that in there just because what we agreed upon. Our firefighters' gear that they wear is measured specifically for them. If we try to figure out who's working today and they have another set of gear there, that will become a nightmare. So what we agreed on initially was they've got gear that fits them. We're going to let them use it. We buy some new gear every year. Everybody doesn't get a new set of gear every year, but we buy some new kit. We just said, since we're using it there, let's just have the airport replace 2 sets of gear every year to kind of keep that in rotation. So we're not out gear. They're kind of
For replacement costs.
exactly. And then what was the second part of that?
Periodic review.
Oh, yeah.
A rate or frequency of that.
Yes, so we want to do periodic review every year. We have an annual review in there, say how many flights we're getting. Are they on time? Are they early? How does that impact us working, you know, because we're going to deal with things like weather related. Is a flight coming in late? Does that lengthen the hours? And that's why it's set up on an hourly basis. We're going to bill them for actual hours worked. So if you have a flight that's coming in late because of a mechanical issue, then they're still getting paid until that flight has landed.
Okay.
And that periodic review will obviously cover all those aspects.
Okay. Which means if you come up with additional costs, things that we just haven't considered, you can
Yep.
add that. Okay.
Yep.
All right. I think this makes sense. I mean, it's, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And again, the goal was just to get all of this stuff in front of you because Mac's going to be working on draft language for the agreement and didn't want anything to come as a complete shock when we bring it back to council here in a couple of months for approval. So
What's the number of hours of continuing education
So
needed
the
annually?
initial class is the 52 hours.
52. What
Then
if-
there's an annual recertification that is depending on how they teach it, between 8 and 12 hours a year. But the airport pays for that cost as well, including the overtime rates.
Okay, so if I work for you, I have to get 8 to 10 hours a year.
It is actually burn time. We're going to take you to a short class, and then you're going to burn the rest of the day. It is practical, hands-on aircraft firefighting and rescue that you have to do. If you want to work, we'll plug you right in.
I'm not going to be applying, but Taylor or Deborah might be interested.
We will consider it. It sounds very interesting.
Yeah. Thank
I'm sure
you.
it's fun.
Thank you for that
I'm sure it is.
invitation, and I'm going to pass on that. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, and we'll just, I think for us as well as Bob and Bill, we'll just stay in touch as things come up. And if we have to have you back to a public meeting, then we'll just ask you back. Okay, thank
I
you.
think it might,
Information, though.
I think it might be appropriate to have them, I'm sorry, I'm cut you off. I'm so sorry. To have them come back to a public meeting where the public is allowed to speak. I think that would be a really good idea.
We'll find a date and put it on the calendar maybe this fall. All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, our update on the YMCA. Mac, is that you today? Oh,
I guess I'll open it, and Mac's there to answer any questions. There's not a whole lot to report other than what you've already seen in your packet, which is that I have been in contact with Mr. Darling for the last couple of months, in large part out of interest in how things were moving along, because you'll recall the original transferal of the property included some reversionary language and some deadlines for them to do things such as get a site plan in for staff review, come up with an AR for the project, and all the way up to and including finally an open date kind of deadline. Mr. Darling let me know, and I had let you all know maybe 30, 45 days ago that he was scheduled to appear before a More 100 group through the Economic Development Group. And I think that was going to be a sort of final Hail Mary for some monies that they were trying to raise toward that initial site plan, AR development, kind of the planning aspect of this. They were coming up short. They had some people that were willing to give. They had other people that were willing to give to construction after they got through all of that, but they had to get a certain amount raised to do that. Apparently, the late in the week, right before that More 100 meeting, they had a pretty significant donor toward what they were trying to raise for phase one drop out on them. So Jeff basically called and said, look, I hate to throw the towel in on this. However, it's just simply not going to happen at this point. And you may all recall, Jeff came into this process sort of midstream because Mr. Rick Halp was originally involved, and that's who was meeting with the council. Rick retired. Jeff came in from California. Found a lot of his time apparently wrapped up in dealing with some of the existing Ys throughout the Sandhills region. One thing that Jeff and I did pursue momentarily, we ended up with the YMCA of the Sandhills, which kind of covers Moore County and Cumberland and Hoke and some of the areas down this direction. There was an effort made to see if the Triangle YMCA had an interest in maybe kicking off a place here. However, they are already underway with a couple of projects in the Triangle area, as you can well imagine with the growth there. So they were not interested in taking on an additional one at this time. So all of that is to say that the Triangle is, not the Triangle, I'm sorry, the YMCA of the Sandhills is prepared now to transfer the parcel of land back to the town. I had let Mac know that he may want to be doing some research on that if there was anything terribly difficult about it. I know he's been in touch also with Emily Tobias, who assisted with the original transaction. And I don't think it's going to be anything terribly difficult. We did just learn that the county will not be charging a tax stamp because of the reversionary nature of the transaction, which is a positive, although I would have asked for the Y to cover that had they been charging it. So I don't know, Mac, what am I missing? What can you add? What questions do you all have?
Lawyer Parsons has covered most of it.
Under, I'm sure your guidance, I'm sure it's been a long discussion. Yeah, it is too bad. Is this a not now or not ever?
Not now, for sure.
It's a
But when
not
we get the property back, it'll
now?
be back in your
Yeah,
hands to decide
if-
what you want to do with it.
Okay.
If your council's holding a piece of ground in 5 years and they want to make a run at the Y again, maybe, but he definitely, like I said he was sort of throwing the towel in for the time being, unfortunately. So
There is a lovely facility in Hope County, apparently.
Mhm.
And that is an indoor pool that people from this county go there to work out. Is that, do you know the nature of that? Is that owned by the county?
My understanding is the county has money involved in the operation and construction of that facility.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame. It would have been really nice for our community to have.
It would have not produced any tax income because it would have been a 501c3.
Just benefit.
So I think things happen the way they're supposed to happen. I think we have an opportunity here to do something amazing. So let's all take a deep breath and figure out what that amazing thing is. That'd be great.
Was there a transfer of assets for this piece of land?
They paid us $5,000 for it and then made all kinds of promises about what they would do, both when they would do it and the services they'd provide to the community. In return, we're going to, unless y'all tell us differently, we're going to go ahead with getting the property back as quickly as possible.
I agree.
$5,000. I mean, that's not something they come back and ask for. Okay.
Yeah.
It's,
I agree with moving forward with getting it back. And
Yeah.
do you want a motion on, do you need a motion on that?
I don't,
It's going to automatically come back
Right.
to us if we do
Because of the
nothing.
original contract, right?
Their failure to meet the September deadline. But to have clear title, clean title,
Right.
I would prefer that we get a deed from them, reconveying the property back to us.
should throw on a consent agenda in the future, just for record and acceptance of it, similar to if something's donated or,
Just to have it in the county record so that
Exactly.
anybody searching title on that property will know that
Absolutely.
it is cleanly back in our hands.
How much time do you need to do that? Is that something we can do at the July
combined.
meeting?
Yes.
yeah.
Then let's calendar it for July. That would be nice. I think we have our full council then available and just accept and recognize that the deed is back in the hands of the town of Southern Pines. I think that's
Will
great.
do.
Great. And you don't need a motion. You're fine. Okay.
We're good.
Is
Okay.
everybody, yeah, do you agree with that, Deborah?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Doing nothing means it comes back to us. So it's
Right.
just, at this point, I feel like it's on their timeline, not ours.
Right.
But yeah,
Give it back. Let's take them up
Take it.
on it.
Let's take it.
that sounds good.
Great.
All right. The last thing we have before our roundtable is the planning department update. Director
Good
Booth.
evening, members of council.
Evening.
The camera can see me. I know the camera can see me
Okay,
because
great.
I can see me on YouTube on a regular basis now. So I'm minding my P's and Q's over here, sitting
Good.
properly rather than slouching. And so
Excellent. No
July, I just wanted to give the council an update on what is coming to the July 28th town council meeting. It will be chock-a-block full of goodies from the planning department. We have from the June 18th planning board meeting, there will be a PDP for phase 3 of the ACE hardware development. From the July 23rd planning board meeting, because of a no council meeting at the beginning of July, there will be a mixed-use conditional zoning district for a project the planning board will be looking at in July. Then it will come soon after that. There will be a quick turnaround on that, but we will get that scheduled for a public hearing before you on July 28th. There will also be continued from the May 12th town council meeting. There will be the Ravensbrook 5 conceptual development plan, as well as the Gaddis right-of-way abandonment, you may recall. And then there's a few new items, which is we're going to, depending upon the outcome of a conversation that my esteemed colleague, Mr. Maddox, is about to have with you, we may have consideration of a social district. We also will have an architectural compliance permit for Veterans Guardian. You'll remember that project is back in the corporate park and came through review for a PDP. That's it for July 28th, Town Council. That'll be quite a few things. A few updates very quickly, and then I'm going to hand it over to Mason to talk about two different things. We have had, In the realm of planning and zoning, a hot topic right now is data centers, primarily data centers that are called hyper campuses, the things that use 100 megawatts to 200 or 300 megawatts of power. They're certainly well known for needing a lot of power and or a lot of water. And I guess I wanted to bring it up at a town council work session in case you had any questions, in case you wanted to discuss it, because number one, our office has not received any inquiries for a data center in Southern Pines. Thought that was an interesting piece of information to share. Sometimes, we get a lot of inquiries on all kinds of things. We have not. I also checked in just to sort of take the temperature of this type of land use and this type of inquiry. I checked in with Darren Burich at the Moore County Economic Development Partners, and he told me that they also have received no inquiries for data centers in Moore County. And there was an article in the Triangle Business Journal recently about a new data center in Lee County that is a 90 megawatt facility. And I looked up the address of where that facility is being located. And if you look at the screen over here, it is actually being located right about where my cursor is. And the reason that's interesting and noteworthy is because it is my understanding from a fair bit of just kind of paying attention to this land use issue that the number one need for data centers, especially large data centers, is power. And this location where they're going to put one, which is, to my knowledge, one of the closest ones to us so far, is actually right on this transmission line coming out of the Sharon Harris nuclear power plant. And if you zoom in on this, this is a triple line right here. There's all kinds of power right there. Now, as a visual aid for compare and contrast, if you look at this area right here, now if you zoom out and look at all these red lines that are lots and lots of power, and then you look at Southern Pines, Pinehurst, Aberdeen right here, we don't have one of those red lines coming through this area. And as far as hyper campuses, which are the really big ones that consume in the hundreds of megawatts, they're just, to the best of my knowledge at this time and in consultation with others, hyper campuses just aren't, there's not a good reason to put one in or around Southern Pines at this time because the power they need just isn't available. You would need to build additional power infrastructure, and why build that when you could just locate somewhere where you are directly adjacent? It's sort of like a manufacturer that wants to be located at an interchange off the interstate. You're not going to put that same facility 5 miles away from the interstate and then build a road back to the interstate. That's the concept. So based on the number one need being power, after that, you get into smaller facilities, such as co-location facilities and enterprise facilities. Those are smaller users of megawatts, usually in the 5, 10, 20 acre range, and those facilities would be required to design in accordance with our UDO. It would have the landscaping requirements and the architectural compliance requirements, and the use of power would be different. It's not the type where you would need to have a whole substation to feed it, things like that. So that's just a quick wave top assessment of this issue so that you can have a few pieces of information about, when people talk about it, how it can be portrayed as something very scary for a community. Research shows that large facilities do have significant impacts on infrastructure and on communities. So, the University of Michigan, their Gerald Ford Policy Center, Gerald R. Ford School of Public Policy put out a paper on this recently. Our own Central Pines Regional Council that serves us has also collected a tremendous amount of great information. They have a website with all kinds of resources on it. They've also put out this paper defining data centers, and this was a source I used for kind of familiarizing myself with this. So that's something that I wanted to, some information I wanted to give you, and then if you have any questions or if you'd like to discuss it at all, please, however you'd like.
Have you seen other jurisdictions other than us address through their UDO banning the possibility of these centers within the region?
I've certainly been hearing of jurisdictions that are putting moratoriums in place so that they are able to consider the effects and have some time to work on their unified development ordinances. In terms of outright banning it, I'll make a statement and then I'll look at you guys with my right eye and with Mac with my left eye and look kind of funny here. My professional understanding of zoning is that if you assemble zoning so as to preclude a use in all zones for all purposes, that can fall under a sensitive topic of exclusionary zoning. You are better off accommodating a use defining it, putting it somewhere, and then if you'd like, putting in place design requirements so that if it's going to choose to go in that location, it'll be done in accordance with your comprehensive plan, et cetera. But with that, I don't know if Mac has any additional.
What BJ Grieve has just described is really more a First Amendment constitutional issue and applies more to things that have that kind of protection. Data centers aren't going to have that kind of protection, but it's still easier to do exactly what he described, which is define it, regulate it, and put it in places that it would be appropriate if it came here.
I'd be really interested in getting ahead of the curve and regulating to the extent that it would not be an attractive place for someone to plant a data center. How's that? I think it tends to eat up a lot of local resource and also raise, it's interesting what Governor Stein is doing right now, which is to circle back and recognizing that citizens where these data centers are going in are now being burdened by really high power bills. And I think that they're trying to address that or he's at least trying to address that, would love to address that legislatively. But I'd like to do whatever we can. I'd like to not be playing pop-up bunny with this. I'd like to have a plan in place to where we are protected and our citizens are protected from power rates, and a lack of resources, water specifically, that would result if a data center were to come here. So I don't know where anybody else, I haven't actually talked to anybody else on the council about this.
I wanted to ask you, it was unrelated to our business here, so I'll talk to you about it later. I'm definitely curious about where in Lee County that data center is coming up.
Because you have a church there.
I have church there, yeah, so just curious.
My personal preference is that we address issues that,
Exactly, relate to us.
yeah, that it relates us. And I just, because of our lack of power and water, I don't see it as an issue.
Right, and I agree with you, but I also, I agree with you. I don't see it
Even
as.
lack of land. I mean, just.
Right, and the expense of the land. I think we're a hot topic, but I would like to not rest on that as the reason to not do anything. I would like to not be in a state of inertia because of that. I'd like to actually address the.
I just think, so anytime we direct our staff to do something, and we can wait and weigh in when we have a full council, but we direct our staff to do something and it costs something, someone pays for it.
right,
And
right.
I would like to focus,
You mean with resource and time and
sure, yeah,
energy? Sure.
yeah. So I mean, I
agree.
focus our resources and time on don't apologize for anything. My thought on directing you guys to work on something is to work on the things that we know we need to work on. I don't know. It's just my thought. But it's
Right.
maybe,
And I think that if we act proactively, though, sometimes I think that ultimately saves time in the end. For example,
I think,
when we changed the zoning on storage lockers, I think that there were about 4 projects coming down the pipe wanting to do storage lockers in GP area. And I think by looking at the overview and going ahead and putting our expectations in place, that saved ultimately a lot of haggling about that later. So,
because we were at risk of people putting in storage facilities, yeah. I mean, it just,
right.
I think
And I think
we're saying the same thing over and over, and we just disagree, and that's okay.
yeah. So I'd love to talk about it with whole council. That'd be great.
All right. Thank you. Were there anything else on the updates?
Yes, a couple other things. We will be having a Board of Adjustment hearing on July 15th because we have received an appeal of an administrative determination. So I wanted to let you know that only because between now and the next time you meet, you may hear of in
They
the
tend to call
news
us.
about a Board of Adjustment meeting, and I just thought I'd put it on your radar that that's just unusual for us to hold those, and they're always pretty interesting when a Board of Adjustment happens over an appeal or a variance or something like that.
When is that happening?
That'll be July 15th is the Board of Adjustment hearing that is scheduled. The last planning board meeting, At the end of the planning board meeting, our staff spoke, you all are aware of our effort and consistent with the approved list of Phase 3 implementation projects from the comprehensive plan. One of those is to look at right-sizing parking. Our colleague Keenan Dale has done a substantial issue paper on the issue, really studied the issue of parking. Places where there's too much, places where there's too little, what some of the common denominators are, looking at how the issue of right-sizing parking affects community character. And then he created a website where people can interact with this information and leave comments. And the next step is he's looking to assemble a focus group, and that focus group, the process of putting that focus group together started at the end of the planning board meeting by asking members of the planning board if anybody wanted to be in that group or maybe assemble a subcommittee. And so he'll put that group together. He's going to look for some folks who are familiar with the parking concerns in downtown, as well as the parking concerns in the larger developments like the Pinecrest Plaza type parking, as well as some, I'll just say, normal citizens who may be interested in the topic and concerned with that. So he's going to continue working on that. And finally, then I'm going to hand it over to Mason to talk about two things briefly, which is some contact we had about something called a preservation agreement pursuant to a section of general statute, and also just a refresher on that, what I mentioned, the Reds Corner request for a social district. We came to you about that a while back, and that has come back. So let me pull up his PowerPoint.
The three of you might recall at the end of October, Scott Bertrand, the owner of Reds Corner, approached the council requesting to establish an actual social district. And for those of you less familiar, this would not be something that encompasses anything other than that red line that you see on this map for Reds and the Paddock Bar. So you might be saying, what's the purpose? Well, it is a method for which open containers could go from property to property. There are other ways, such as if both businesses were Reds Corner and it's one property, but that's not the case. So this is a method to make that happen. So I did want to first restate the limited scope of this. Staff has received a full management and maintenance plan from Scott that I've reviewed against state statute. This is unusual for me as well because this isn't legislative hearing, so it's not completeness, but I looked at it to see that it checks all the boxes in statute. I believe that it does as far as the request goes. I know that you are all probably more interested in what that would mean for us if it is something that you would consider. Essentially, there's a little bit of paperwork that the town would have to file to get it started. But in the management plan, Mr. Bertrand has stated that the management responsible would be Reds Corner. They would be in charge of putting signs up, designating the boundary. I've got a picture of the signs right there. It's got ALE's number on it, Southern Pines Police, as required in statute. Those would be posted by the exits. Finishing your drinks before you leave, that sort of thing is part of this. Long-term for the town, I put on the right side as adopting an ordinance. That's how this would be established. I can also note that if this is something that is adopted and at a later time it creates issues that are not mitigated by town involvement, the police, what you grant, you can also take away by ordinance.
So he's asking to have this granted and then to also police it. This is like the fox guarding the hen house, right?
Well, when you say police it,
Okay.
statute does not require a permanent police presence.
Right, I
Or,
understand.
right, or patrol when this is open.
Okay,
No-
let's go with patrol. I'm ready to go there.
Yeah.
But he wants to have it and then he wants to patrol it.
He and his staff would have to patrol it for consistency with his own statement, making sure people aren't wandering out onto the street, drinking, that sort of thing. But if there are issues, our police would also be responsible for routine enforcement and patrol. That is one of the long-term asks.
Maybe stated differently, and I think the slide points this out, the normal police enforcement remains what it is today.
Correct.
It's just that he as Reds, because it is technically two separate businesses, which is what is driving this application for a social district, he as Reds is taking on responsibility for movement between the two, because somebody needs to, under the general statutory requirements.
Well, so,
I'm
no, it's all right. And I've met with Scott on this issue. My understanding is, as I think you've already said, if the owner of both properties, so he's leasing both properties, but because he doesn't own both properties, you cannot get a drink here and walk over to here, even if it's that outdoor space that's on different property. So this is just making it as if the property is one owner. for
Yeah,
the
this comes
purposes of
down to some
drinking.
of the open container types of unique. I think Bill, Councilman Pate was on at the time, but as a reminder, the Sunrise Theater, when they opened up the green space and the stage, wanted to be able to sell out of their lobby there at the theater. And because the town actually had a public sidewalk, that brick sidewalk that ran from the parking lots up to Broad Street, we actually had to enter into a lease agreement with the Sunrise so that they could maintain the brick sidewalk and actually carry their license from the lobby over to the green space. There's little unique things that come out as a result of how these statutes are written. And this isn't exactly that because there's not a public sidewalk there, but because it is two different owners, it creates this challenge.
I can have a drink right now at the paddock. I can have a drink at Red's, but in crossing that boundary and going behind the food trucks with it, I would technically be breaking the law. And so this is
Invisible line.
there's an invisible line. And this is the method which Mr. Bertrand has chosen to remedy that invisible line for his businesses.
Would it be possible?
Specific, the issue is that it's two different permittees.
Okay, thank you.
Carry alcohol purchase from one permittee onto the property of a different permittee.
And there's no way that he can be the same permittee under both properties.
I don't know how they're organized, but it's not likely.
He's not the owner, but he's leasing both.
Yeah, that's, no, go ahead.
So the ABC allows him to sell beer and wine. But I guess if he has a permit to do it here versus a permit to do it here,
Right.
that makes two different permits. And he
Right.
can't get one permit, is what I think he said.
Permits are very specific for location.
I believe they're under two entirely different LLC names, and I
That's
don't
what I
know
would
if,
expect.
I don't know if he has partners and they're different in one entity versus the other. I'm not sure what the reasoning behind that may be, but there are reasons I can imagine.
Okay. But this is just a warning shot that this is coming, this is not, we're not making it.
front of you
Yeah.
approval now. I think
Just,
BJ's letting you know that.
this is a thought.
Around, and it's
ma'am.
been a minute since you discussed this last.
Right,
October,
okay,
so it's a
okay.
reminder of the situation.
Mr. Bertrand sent this paperwork to me. He wouldn't have been eligible for this to come to you all for formal action this evening anyways. So
Right.
just
The line
shot.
that is up against Morganton, is it right up against the sidewalk?
appears that way from this map.
I would be interested in that line being moved back some before it comes to us. In some sort of like way that people can visually say like, I'm within 10 feet of the road or something, that's where I don't know. I don't know how those lines work because they are all imaginary lines.
An alcohol buffer. We could create a new animal.
I mean, maybe it is just some sort of,
Well, the rest of the red line doesn't appear to follow strictly property lines. There's clearly some other delineation there. What I want to hasten to add here is, this isn't a zoning construct. Has nothing to do with the UDO. Really has nothing to do with anything except that planners are really good at taking requests for doing stuff that requires paperwork.
And I'm good at finding my way into some loose ends that need tying up.
You know,
Whoops.
and so this individual was told by the state, yeah, you can't take drinks between those. And he said, well, how do I? And they said, well, you can't. They said, no, is there any way at all? And they said, I guess if you created a social district here, now that's the mechanism you can do that. So he came to us and said, I want to do a social district. You may recall, we came to you and said, with Scott, and Scott said, I want to do a social district. And we said, he can do a social district, and here's what the town would have to do, and here's all the stuff he would have to do. And at the end of that conversation, he was told to go do the stuff that he would have to do and come back. So he has come back. But to be clear, this isn't staff necessarily advocating for this. We're not going to come in with a comp plan analysis to say this is good or bad under the comp plan. We're basically going to help out, do the paperwork if town council is amenable to this. And we wanted to put it on the work session discussion where we have our time to visit with you, just in case we're about to launch into doing this paperwork and you all had a discussion and said, yes, we do like this more, we don't like this anymore. It was just basically a heads up, this is coming, and there will be correct me if I'm wrong, there is a hearing on it on July 28th because it's an ordinance.
I had a question mark next to that pending.
We'll figure that out. We're really good at paperwork. We'll figure it out. We'll do everything. We'll check all the right boxes.
All right.
How did he come up with the line? How did, I'm just curious. Oh, that was yours?
Yeah, it's a gerrymandered line. It's gerrymandered drinking line.
That it is the active areas in which people already drink at Reds and back, but I will let Mr. Scott answer that himself.
Okay.
If this goes next month, he plans to be present.
Just for clarification, based on something BJ just said, just because this is an ordinance does not mean necessarily there would be a hearing on it.
Correct.
It's not a zoning action. Is there anything under the statute relative to social districts that requires a hearing?
Not that I was able to find.
Would be-
Wondering if it
Is
had
it
a-
something that, we would probably put this on an action item as opposed to just throwing it on a consent agenda, but is it the type of thing council would prefer to have a hearing on?
Concern about having a hearing is that I can say right now, I have no interest in a social district on town streets or like on expanding it for downtown. Like I think that if it turns into an action item, people are gonna, they will come and speak about issues outside of this. And I mean, I think this is his business and trying to make it feasible for him to run it in a way on the property that he's already renting.
So when you say you have no interest in a social district, period, is that?
No, I mean, I see this as a social district to solve a problem. I don't have an interest in downtown being a social district or,
Right.
a between bars owned by different people being a social district.
Yeah, I think the typical social district you would see would cover an area, for instance, the downtown, where you could walk from one business to the next on public sidewalks and things, which isn't this.
I do wish my colleagues from the police department had remained. I checked in with them on this morning. I'll be very careful speaking on their behalf. They didn't have an issue with the proposal and the work that they would have to do, but they also cited your concern about opening a box for
Yeah.
larger districts, and they had concerns with that were expressed to me.
Yeah, I think that's something that we don't, I don't
So
want
I'm
to speak
hearing,
for a
don't
whole
worry
town.
about a hearing. I just wanted to be clear, because BJ sort of brought that up and thought, I know you said, I don't know if it'll be a hearing because it's an ordinance, but unless there's a statutory requirement, it's not a legislative zoning matter. It's this social district thing, so.
Yeah, it was basically, there is a process outlined under state statute for adopting a social district. And I don't know, I was looking to Mason because I didn't know if we'd gotten to the point yet of making sure, because we have some time on this. So we've just been asked to process it. I didn't know if we'd gotten to a point where that unique list of requirements includes a public hearing or
Yeah,
not.
I don't know the
And the
answer to
answer
that.
is, we don't think it does, but we'll make sure that if it does, it happens.
Okay.
If it doesn't, it'll.
State requirements.
Not be a component of a consent agreement.
No, yeah, I think they said
No,
not
I-
consent,
I
just follow whatever the.
But even action items, we don't
regulations are.
necessarily have
Right.
public feedback sometimes. So that's why I just asked for the clarification.
She's gonna see it.
I just looked at the statute. There's no requirement for a public hearing.
Okay.
I do sometimes read those things.
Thank you, Mason.
Anything else?
Got one more for you really quickly. In state statute, there exists something called a preservation agreement. A preservation agreement is very common when federal dollars are spent for revitalization of various sites in order to protect them. It's one of the highest protections there is for historic resources. Put a pin in that for a moment. Now we're going to jump to COVID. During the days of COVID, Trinity AME Zion Church, right down on Pennsylvania, had roofing issues on a significant level, like full roof collapse. They were then awarded a grant through the National Park Service that was administered through the Central Pines Regional Council. And then that was occurring. At a similar time, the town was also awarded a grant from the National Park Service to nominate 3 structures to the National Register of Historic Places. That was put onto that register officially late last year. We have been asked by the Central Pines to consider becoming the grantees of a preservation agreement for Trinity AME Zion Church, and that would entail monitoring and enforcing a list of conditions that would be tied to the covenants of that agreement. With me so far? And that would include watching over to make sure that no serious renovations are occurring when federal money has already been spent replacing that roof. That's the short version of that. I may call on Attorney McCarley to chime in a little bit more on some conclusions we were attempting to draw. If I can put you on the spot for a second. I know you had some thoughts.
there are all sorts of other organizations that could be in this role. And because it is a church, I'm not sure that we want to be involved as the
I know, I feel like this is
the
opening
overseer of those
potential.
regulations.
Yeah, it's gonna, if something went wrong, it's putting us at odds with a historically significant and cultural resource in our own town that I'm not sure that I want to be at odds with.
The enforcement agent
Yeah.
in that situation.
It's dog in the fight.
Central Pines, assigning someone to take this over now that the grant has concluded. I also do see,
was a grant administrator.
Right. that's
right, for the roof
right.
grant, thank you. I also do see the line of thinking because the town supported the building being listed on the National Register.
Right.
And so it's not inappropriate that our actual historic district commission would be asked under you all, but I get,
Do we do that for any other building in town?
not to my knowledge, we don't hold any of these. And to BJ's point, other entities have been asked to look into this and see if they're interested. This also isn't on the list for July 28th. This is just is the town interested? And if they are, can we talk about it a little bit more at this phase? They have reached out to some various state organizations that were told that they could also hold the agreement. So we are not their only chance.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you, yeah.
The
Specifically,
obvious
preservation in C
Yeah,
right now.
let's see if Preservation NC can. And if for some reason nobody else is able to, obviously I don't want to stand in the way of them being able to use, yeah. But
We've
if,
gotten the grants, though. This is just who holds the enforcement authority and monitoring, and the normal agency to do that is the State Historic Preservation Office, SHPO.
In monitoring, we're talking about as long as they use the funds that have been allocated to them to do the work that's supposed to be done?
Use the building after it's gotten the grant money.
Oh, shoot, okay.
failed to-
That's a easy.
I failed to mention it's for a period of 20 years now that
Oh,
everything's.
yeah. Wow, 20 years.
20 years.
I'll be gone by then.
I would love for an organization who does this on a regular basis to take responsibility, if possible.
My recommendation is that we decline this opportunity.
Okay.
That's what I needed from you all today. Thank
And do you
you.
have thoughts?
I am uncharacteristically quiet. I'm chewing on it. I think I'm there. I think it makes sense for the preservation group who know what they're doing. Can I get back to you on that? I have no reason to.
I am not under a deadline from Central Pines to deliver them an answer, so I would say
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's the first I've grappled with it, so.
So our July meeting is going to be pretty busy. If you can receive input from our other council members and from Ann between now and August, that'd be great. But if you feel like it needs to come to another work session, we'll put it on August work session.
Right.
Does that work?
Nature of the inquiry, I think we're very comfortable at this point just getting back to him and saying the town's not that interested. If it becomes an acute problem and no one else will do it, get back to us. But I get the impression there's probably other entities that will. They're just reaching out to anybody who can.
They are also considering those other entities.
Great. Okay.
We'll just get back to them and let them know that we're not that interested. If there's other entities that can, let us know if it becomes a problem. And I think it won't be an
Not in
issue
our wheelhouse.
at all.
Yeah.
It's not.
Creates some conflict of interest in my brain because it is something that I very much want to support, the renovation and refurbishment of AME Trinity, but it's kind of hard to wear that hat and by the way, I'm the police force coming into this, you know,
Yeah.
so my first instinct is absolutely aligned with yours. And if somebody teaches me I'm wrong, I'd like to reserve the right to.
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable with BJ's?
Yes, I think BJ's suggestion is a good one. That's
All right.
great.
Thank you, Mason.
That's all from planning. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Okay, we have council roundtable. Can we take a quick 5-minute break and then we'll come back for roundtable? Okay. Unless roundtable's gonna be super quick.
No, I'm going to be lengthy on
All
that.
right.
I'm sorry.
All right.
You need your break.
I'll take a break. Get up and move for a second. Quarter to All right, I'm bringing us back just for our round table, the end of our council meeting. If there are ideas, I did reach out to, I didn't specifically ask Bill, but he did not tell me he had anything, and Bob I asked, and he did not have anything, so. And if you want to get us started. I mean, I feel like I try to start from one end,
Okay, that's
and Reagan's already talked, so.
Okay, so I do want to answer, oops, sorry. I do want to answer on the sewer line, Midland, Knollwood, Michigan, issues, that Dot Brower brought up in the May 12th meeting. I would like a response on that. And I apologize in advance if you've given me one on email and I haven't caught it. But I would like to know how we can proceed to help our constituents with something that sounds like a really untenable situation.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Reagan.
Please, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I spoke with Manager Parsons about the same thing, actually, and,
Great minds think alike.
yeah, right. And I spoke first with James, Mr. Mickle, at a town council meeting, just like on a break, just asking, okay, what's the deal with this? And he let me know that the situation, obviously the lines are county lines and not our lines, and that the fix-it for the problem is probably more than what the county wants to pay. And subsequent to that, I met with Manager Parsons, and I even asked, who could I maybe have a conversation with on the side and say, this is an issue. It's been a long-standing issue. It doesn't make people feel good in their homes to have pungent smells, which don't, and I think another thing I got from the conversation either with Reagan or with James is that it's not necessarily a constant issue, that it's all the time, every day, but it happens. And, something that we need to address. So
Yeah.
I would like, I've been a little busy, but I would like to, and of course, anything you can do to pursue it, since we know we're dealing with county and we need to deal with them on it, but did I miss anything, y'all?
No, I think you kind of tied that up very nicely, Councilwoman Gray. I have let the county manager know that we had somebody state something at a council meeting, because occasionally that'll happen before the commissioners, and he provides me the same information back this direction. Mr. Mickle could certainly address the fact that the county has been aware of the issue for some time, and as Councilwoman Gray suggested, it's not every day. It's I'm going to assume, based upon experience early in my career with a sewer system that had some similar issues, that it is a sewer gas issue. Those gases develop under certain atmospheric scenarios and/or as a result of, we'll call it low flow in the system. So things are sitting in the pipes longer than you would typically want. As best we can tell, the county staff is aware that the issue occurs from time to time. They have not found a temporary / short-term / simplistic fix for when it occurs, because it's not that it necessarily is occurring on it happens every Tuesday, or it happens
Right, no,
every
it's
2 weeks or
intermittent.
something. It's an intermittent type of thing. Really, at this point, the fix could be as extreme as reconstruction, I suppose, or realignment of the system, which is not a minor undertaking either financially nor relative to impact on where that line happens to be lying. But it may be the kind of thing that needs to be placed on the county commission's radar at the very least, because staff, I don't think, feel that they are in a position that they have the answers within their current enterprise budget, and may need to be asked to look at something more significant in order to to address the issue. And I don't, what have I missed, James, or what might you add?
Very impressed with your knowledge of the initiation of sewer spills.
We could talk about peroxide treatments, and yeah, again, I've a few of these gray hairs on my head were a result of a similar problem in another jurisdiction. So,
But you dealt with it. And I think to say it's expensive and we don't want to do it is not dealing with it. So, and it's not our problem. I get it. It's a county infrastructure issue. But those are our constituents, and I don't know what we can do to put some heat on the county to say, we know it's going to be expensive, we know it's an issue, but it's also untenable. And I don't really want to accept an answer that we don't want to do it because it's expensive.
yeah.
That's-
And I honestly, what I
that's not
don't know,
okay.
and James, maybe you do, but I would not expect you to. I don't know if they have similar issues elsewhere in their system. I mean, this could very well be why would we fix one 400-yard stretch in Southern Pines when we've got 6, 7, or 8 others? And I don't know that they do, but they have a pretty wide-ranging system across the county.
But do they have, do they have a plan to deal with that? Who knows? Okay.
could not speak to
So
that.
basically what we're saying is we're washing our hands of it, and we need to make it an issue for the county commissioners who should be representing Southern Moore County with the same vengeance of other areas.
Yeah, I think we need to ask them, even if it's not if this is not an infrastructure fix, if there's some sort of flushing procedure that we can ask them to
It
do
would
on a regular
likely
basis.
result in, if the problem is what I think it might be, it's probably a permanent chemical feed. Now, I know James has said that they tried some chemical in the past that clearly didn't fix the issue, to deodorize it. But it's really about trying to create the environment under which the gas doesn't get produced in the first place.
Correct. I understand that. But to say it's difficult or it's expensive, so we're not going to deal with it, it seems unacceptable, just as a person who pays county tax. It's not okay. But anyway, that's not our fix that we have to do. I
Yeah,
get
and,
that.
and to be clear, to be fair to the county, relative to county tax, this is part of their enterprise system, just as our water and sewer is part of our enterprise.
Right.
So any fix is going to be a function of those that are paying sewer, not, in this case, probably not directly to the county, but instead the rates that are charged back to the various municipalities that ultimately flow to the county.
Right, and if this were a city problem, I would not, I would hope very much you would not try to get by with an answer to me that it's going to be expensive and tough to deal with.
No,
so we're not
I
gonna deal
think you're aware through the budget process, we spend quite a bit of money
Right.
on our utilities to avoid
Right,
these types of
And I would
things.
expect the same of the county, who are busily lowering their tax rate. So that's my editorial comment in that regard. But I did want to, I would like to keep that issue alive, and I would like to keep that issue alive at the county, and I would like to respect the fact that there are a lot of people in Southern Pines who are impacted by that, and it is, it's a hindrance to quality of life. So, which brings up my second thing, which is the spill at Warrior Woods, and were there any ramifications? I had asked you about that a couple months ago. The backwash.
I think I had sent you all an email
did we get
to
that?
that
So
effect.
that's-
Yeah, and
I'll check that.
replication, we could not pin the incident on any singular contractor. So I think your question may have been, was there somebody we were able to designate as the problem that we then charged for the cleanup and such? And that was not the case in this instance.
Did cleanup even occur?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, reporting, cleanup, and if, I will trip all over myself in explanation of this one, but it had to do with a plug that got in the system, and I'm going to pass it off to Engineer Mickle to make that one more understandable.
Great.
Ready to say something else regarding the sewage thing too? We may have cut you off, but if you had anything else to say on
I
that.
was just going to point out the fact that anything done with that, if it was a chemical injection system or something, it's considered part of the county transmission system, which goes into the base sewer rates that the town pays to the county for our sewer treatment anyway. So in a way, the town does end up paying for portions of it.
Right. So we should actually have the service to deal with the problem. Just saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
as it relates to the spill, so the issue was an inflatable plug that is typically used by contractors. They use it to block while they're working in a manhole or something so they can work in the dry. We have a belief of which contractor we think it was. We just can't prove it, that it was theirs. They denied that it was their plug. And we can't, the plugs don't come with the name of a contractor written on the side of it. So it's really hard to say, no, it was you. Because in that area, we've had a number of lining contractors, manhole contractors, lots of things happening in the area. So it is really hard for us to say it was absolutely this one particular contractor.
Okay, so, sorry, I'm going to think like a high school teacher here. Why don't we have contractors identify plugs they put in? I mean, a Sharpie could do it, guys, right?
Sewer's pretty rough. I don't know if a Sharpie would hold up. but-
Sharpie might not.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that that's something.
Corrosive environment that creates those gases.
Day 2, no promises.
Maybe not. It'd be an interesting thing.
Permitting process when they put it in or do the work?
Say it again, Taylor, sorry.
There's no permitting process when they go to do the work?
In the area. Multiple contractors.
But they don't have to tell us when they're putting in a plug to a manhole cover or where it is.
We were aware the contractor is working. The problem is, we don't have staff that's going to babysit them
Yeah.
all day, every day.
Right.
So, and each one of these contractors, they have multiple plugs. It's very likely the guy down in the hole who, the big guy at the top, the owner of the company, probably truly believes this, and the guy in the hole could have just lied to him because they didn't want to admit they made a mistake and they dropped the plug.
Right.
Just
If we had a way to track that, would be great.
Yeah.
I would love to hold people accountable in that instance. My third thing is, I'm really skeptical about flock cameras. Just want to put that out there. I regret that I did not raise more of an issue there, and I will get information to everybody in that regard. Very concerned about surveillance. Fourth thing is, meeting in Durham that I had an opportunity to attend last month, I did bring up the issue of logos, trademarks, license, and making sure that their situation dovetailed with ours. And there is one town that is in a similar situation. They have allowed use of the town logo, but then they have also identified someone as a town representative, which just sounds horrible to me if this gets to be your job, who has to approve each time the logo is used. And that sounds incredibly cumbersome. And I want to double back to the folks who are doing what they're doing and just say kudos to them. They're trying to be engaged. I really don't want to be the person to throw ice water on their idea, but I think that we're creating a precedent, number one, and number two, we're creating you're going to need some sort of an accountability method in place, or it's going to be free range to just use the logo. So there was only one town that was doing this, I think it was Selma, and they had been in a very similar situation. They had taken the bait, and they now had a town person whose job was to identify whether or not that was a good idea. So I think that I think the Friends of the Library and actually the Visitor Center all have the same idea where they've created their own logo, and that's all. And that's all with having heard Mac also advised me. I mean, I've tried to talk through it with him, and tried to talk through it with Central Pines group. I'm bringing it up to the whole group, and Mac is less concerned about it than I am. I understand that, and also sees it as an opportunity to possibly make some money. But if we have a staff person whose most valuable resource probably is time, and they're deciding whether or not we're going to make a $2 kickback on a hat, I'm not sure that's a good use of our time. So I based on that warning from fellow council members from other districts, I'm concerned about it. And again, I know everybody in that group, and I admire them greatly, and I appreciate that they're engaged, and I appreciate they want to make the town a better place, and they want to do things that the town needs, and I I think probably a logo of their own is probably the best idea. But that's my personal opinion. And my next thing is, and I've lost sleep over this one, you guys. This is golf balls flying and the liability that goes with them. And you know, at budget meeting, I was opposed to, and I appreciate you guys hearing me and joining me. I was opposed to $37,000 of taxpayer money to put in a new tee box at the end of Campbell House Field, where people shoot golf balls down the field. Sorry, was that where you like to play golf? Sorry, my bad. Where people shoot the golf balls down the field, where folks are doing rugby and kids are doing camps. And the mayor's point was well taken in that she said people may not be able to afford to play golf otherwise. And my somewhat caustic retort to that is, I would rather pay for someone's $10 basket of used balls than sacrifice the life of a child, which could potentially happen. So I am very concerned about the liability that goes with the Campbell House, just in general. And I also don't like to raise a big issue without sort of learning what I'm doing. And I want to do kudos to BJ, because I know that he knows what I'm going to talk about next, is out at Highland Hills, which is our ETJ. Highland Hills has a tee box that is only 200 yards from the road. And with that being the case, there are balls. I have seen evidence of balls in the middle of US 1. I have seen balls over the fence of the business across the street at Windridge Garden. I have seen daily. And I think that what has happened is Highland Hills was set up, and I understand too, BJ's been called about this issue, and we don't have regulatory authority over it, the county does. So I get all that, but I want to make a point here in that I think it's lovely that we're a golfing community, and I'd like for us to all stay alive. So in regard to Highland Hills, they could do what Mid-Pines did many, many, many years ago, which is to turn the driving range, put the tee box at the other end. So you're shooting into the golf course, and they're taking on the liability. In regard to Highland Hills, it's not our problem, but it is a problem in that there's a liability there. And I think, again, the county needs to perk up. I went by Knollwood, and what are you asking? Go ahead.
They don't have a net?
They don't have a net. They don't have a net, so
Is the
thank you.
driving range that the land on the right?
The the land on the right, oh, you're there.
I'm surprised.
Not a long way, but
It's a long way.
it's not nearly
But-
as close as some of the fairways along Midland or even
Right.
right here up Pennsylvania.
But here's my point. You know, thousands of years ago, when I was in high school, I won the state championship in backstroke. I would be, even if I could still swim that time, I would be on my third turn, and BJ's daughter would be finishing. So swimmers have gotten faster, and golfers hit the ball farther, and equipment is more sophisticated, and it just is getting to be a bigger and bigger hazard. So I went by Knollwood, talked to my new best friend, John. Thank you, John, who works in the pro shop there. And I said, how far is it to the road? It's 290 yards. Do you ever have problem with the balls going across the road? He said, no, not generally. We never have that issue, but we are putting up a net. So thank you, Mayor Clement.
You said Knollwood, you mean Highland, you talked to Highland Hills? Pro.
No, I'm doing my golf courses, girl.
Oh,
I actually meant what I said. Yeah, this one is in our town. So in our town, we now have a 290-yard distance from the driving range to the houses or to the road that has houses on it. And that's generally a non-issue, but they also are putting up a net,
That's appropriate.
which is a great idea. Highland Hills has no net. And that, again, not our problem, but certainly a situation to be aware of. And I appreciate that Knollwood has voluntarily, and to be honest with you, with the assist from CCNC, who's putting up a bigger net, CCNC has given Knollwood their old net. So practicality, beautiful, way to work together, keep us all safe. Again, Highland Hills is really dangerous right now. Not our issue, not a regulatory issue. Thank you, you were correct.
No, but it, I mean, so just circling back to the sewer issue, like that's more the county commissioners.
Right.
This is the county commissioners. Like maybe
more.
I will
wait,
say with
there's-
Highland,
make a list and talk to them, yeah.
But
'Cause it
wait,
sounds
there's
like-
more.
but it is also our ETJ. However, I will also say, because I was just out there over the weekend, Highland Hills has a sign on that driving range that says it's limited to 200 yards.
It does, and nobody adheres to that. And people, I mean, cars have been dented.
I adhere to it every time I hit a golf ball. I cannot hit further than 200 yards.
See, and
will
I
admit it
feel
right
like
here.
I
It doesn't matter what club I use.
I join you in that. Although I would be the person who would be at the Campbell House at the T-Bar and would hit it into my yard, which is
Your
way,
house.
way through, yeah, anyway, way through the forest. But here's the solution. I don't like the idea of a tee box at the end of the Campbell House. I don't like balls going into children. I don't like the liability that town takes with that. And I'm making that liability even more severe by making the speech, because now we all know that we have notice of the fact that that's a liability. But what we do have here is kids golf. And yes, I have broached the subject with a couple people with kids golf, and no, I don't have an agreement with them, nor is it my place to do it. But I think they are open to the possibility of our young persons doing their golf lessons at Legacy for a fee that we pay. We can pay a lot of fees for $37,000. I want Parks and Rec to be able to do it, but I also want a marriage of US Kids Golf in a place where it's safe, and the Southern Pines Parks and Rec. I think that would make so much sense.
I think you're thinking first tee.
I'm actually not, because that's the first place I went, and I was wrong to do that.
But I do think you're talking Longleaf, not Legacy.
I am talking Longleaf. You're right. You went through the hoop that I first went to, because I thought first tee would be right, and then they went, no, you need kids golf, US Kids
So I
Golf,
thought first tee, my kids have done golf lessons,
at first tee.
well, yeah, through first tee in that park,
And
the park behind your house.
At the Campbell House.
right, at the Campbell House, right. And those kids are probably not going to hit a golf ball, and that's going to hurt another kid. But then it becomes an open invitation to everybody who wants a free driving range with no net and with kids playing down in the play. I mean, it'd be a whopper if you hit it down to the play equipment, but I don't know how many yards that is. But I don't like that we have an open driving range with a children's play area at the end of it. And the Arts Council with windows to knock out. So I really think that we should take this liability incredibly seriously before somebody gets seriously hurt. And I think that golf on the Campbell House grounds might have made sense in the 40s, but I don't think it makes sense right now. And I do think that we have a beautiful infrastructure that wants to encourage golf with youth, that we could probably create a partnership. And again, I did try First Tee first, and then I went to US Kids Golf, is where First Tee sent me. So I understand what you're saying, but, so I'm interested in the fact that we are, to a beautiful extent in Southern Pines, we are self-monitoring. And kudos to Knollwood for putting up a net. Kudos. I'm interested in looking at that and some sort of UDO addressing the fact that we need tee boxes that don't shoot out into the public. We need to not do a Highland Hills thing. And I understand your point, that it's a county commissioner issue, but it's also, I promise you, they're going to hear that I said this, which is fine. And I got more than 3 minutes talking to them, so. But I think that it's not okay that we're shooting golf balls, that anybody's shooting golf balls into US 1. It's not okay that cars are getting dented. It's not okay that people are walking by with their baby buggies.
And I don't mean go to public comment. I mean, you have their phone numbers, call them.
Yeah,
Sit down and have.
no, I understand, all that. I understand all that,
I mean, I feel like as an elected official, you have a privilege of sitting down and talking to them one-on-one.
right.
when we should all
But
be
that is what has, I would be, from our perspective, I think that our community has done a brilliant job. Hats off to CCNC, hats off to Knollwood, hats off to Mid Pines for turning their tee box. I don't know, I honestly don't know what Pine Needles does. And I don't know that it's going to be relevant in regard to what used to be the Elks Club. I'm not sure where the driving range is and
Yeah,
what,
both Pine Needles and the Elk Club driving ranges are well away from the roads.
Right,
They're
so-
internal to the property.
and not a place where people would walk through and get hurt. So I think that the people who run those facilities have done a brilliant job making sure that we don't have a liability. What we have right now as a council is we have a liability in regard to Campbell House. And I would like, I don't know if Mac agrees with me or disagrees with me or has anything he wants to add to that. You don't want to add to that at all? You have nothing to say after that tirade? Do you agree that it's a disability, or a liability, I'm sorry, and a disability if it's Taylor or me shooting the golf ball apparently?
Genuine risk of people being injured, yes, it's a risk.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that, but that's okay.
If it's a genuine risk.
Oh, okay.
of liability.
Yeah, no, so it's a valid point. I think it's an abundance of information.
It is.
And I also think that it's maybe gone beyond just a roundtable issue, that maybe it's something that should be, the council members and staff should be given some notice of discussion, and so we can actually have a real discussion.
agree. I agree. But I definitely wanted to bring it up, and I definitely hope that a partnership with Kids Golf could be, it would do exactly what they want to be doing, which is creating the next generation of golfers.
So I've never seen kids hitting golf balls off that tee. I've seen adults doing it. And I don't know.
At
Behind
Longleaf?
No, behind your house.
Oh, yeah, oh, well, I can call you when it's happening.
Okay, with kids. Well, I'm saying I've seen adults, and I don't think a partnership with US Kids Golf is going to solve the accessibility of golf for all ages issue. But again, I think in general, roundtable would be bring up an idea that you want to be discussed as
Right.
opposed to the expectation that we'll have answers or
Well,
staff.
let's pop that on when we're full council, and let's chat about that. And I think I would like to assert that, yeah, I'm really interested in having, it's interesting that other places, I'm reading your article that you've gotten here in Lynn County. It's interesting that other places have already put into place moratorium regarding data centers, and I am certainly on board with that in regard to Moore County. And finally, I left town right as it was happening, and I appreciated your comments in the paper, Mayor Clement, about the Neil Jackson's new proposed legislation that I think is I think I won't even quote myself as far as what I wrote in my letter, but I think that it is irresponsible. I think that the people of Southern Pines are very well educated as to who they want their local leaders to be. I think there are any number of reasons it's a bad idea to make that change. And I wonder if the council has any interest in making some sort of a united stance against it.
So again, we're only 3 of 5 right now. So rather than taking too much input without our other two, but I mean, I would say talk to the county again. Like the fact that the county wrote a request to change that on our behalf is, I think, what concerns me.
I think the thing that concerns me the most is that they then asserted that they talked to all the local councils, and we are not even in Neil Jackson's, we don't even fall within his district. But number one, it is a falsehood to say, unless you were consulted and did not share that with us, and it did not appear from what you said in the paper that you were consulted.
No, but if the county commissioners wrote a resolution requesting it, I think the county commissioners should have talked to us. And it's a line of-
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
And Jackson should have too, but again, he is not our he's not my representative.
Yeah.
So I was on my way out of town if that was happening, and I was horrified by it, and it is not the way that a democracy should work. And I think I'm going to end on that note. There you go. I'm glad you took a break, though, because that was a lot for me tonight. Thanks.
I'd make a list of things you want to talk to the commissioners about and talk to them.
Assure you, I can make a list.
Well, and
And I have gone over there before, and I was held 3 minutes when I went over.
no, so don't go to their meeting.
Right,
call
I
them.
understand,
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, call them and find a time to sit down with them outside. Regarding Selma, did you talk to Byron McAllister, their mayor? Do you know?
I did. He had met you in DC.
Yeah, I'm gonna go
Yeah.
see him this summer. And
Yeah.
He's turned into a friend, which is nice.
He's great.
I,
And he advises heavily against the logo share.
yeah, no, it's funny you bring that up because I feel like that's an issue that we already solved, but
I thought that was left hanging. Did
No,
you
I think they've moved on.
You think what?
I think they moved
moved
on.
on.
I think they wanted to, either if we were not good with it, they were moving on. So I think
Yeah.
they moved on. Okay. Ms. Gray, do you have anything? Dr. Gray?
Deborah's good.
Yep.
Uh,
Reverend Doctor. It's official, we're using it.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm glad that Ann mentioned the sewage issue. I know Ann has a list of lots of things she's got to go to the county with, but I do plan on having a conversation, and just adding to the concern that we have about it. We had a conversation about, or a discussion about the space that the ladies, or there's really like one lady right now, who handles the utility, the collecting for our water and when we make our payments and everything, the spacing that she has at her desk. And when I went over there, not today, and may not even have been last week, maybe a week before or something, I asked about it, and she pridefully said, "Oh no, this is wonderful." And she showed me her office, and she showed me pictures of the family and how she's got everything decorated and her window, and and I know Reagan had basically let us know that there was some talk about it, but everybody seemed to be satisfied. I got the same impression that they were satisfied. Since I go there every week and they see me, I said, just let me know if anything changes, but they are definitely satisfied. So that I felt good about that's, you can say that's a closed issue. I want to thank this town, my council, not my council, it's our council, all of you for your love and support and encouragement in me receiving the doctoral degree. It was a journey. It was a personal journey. I had a lot of help, lots of prayers, but when it's 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm there at the computer trying to get that last thought before I finish that chapter or whatever, it was my journey. But I have been loved and encouraged, and I want to thank you all for that. So Reagan came out with Linda on the 20th, and it was great to see Linda. And it's always good to see Reagan. And Taylor was there as well. And all of the others that weren't there, you were there because you were in my heart. So thank you all. And that's it. I'm done.
That was easy.
So I will follow that just by saying congratulations again. It was a wonderful celebration and well-deserved. It was a lot of work put into that doctoral degree, and you deserve all the recognition for it. So it's been an honor, or it is an honor to serve next to you. So thank you for the invitation to the event, and congratulations again. I spent some time last week with Mr. George Drexel about Whitehall. He is interested in putting together a group of interested citizens on what's happening. He's shared the master plan with our Parks and Rec department, and it sounds like everything he wants to do is sort of on our radar anyway. What it sounded like to me is almost creating a Friends of Whitehall type organization, which I told him I would talk to you guys about, but my personal opinion is the more involvement we have from our citizens in our government and in our governance, the better. So I would love to just give him a blessing on, get people involved, come together with ideas, bring them to us. If you'll have thoughts on that, you're welcome to bring them back to me at any time. And I think that was it on my notes. Oh, very quickly following up on the campaign school at Yale. And if if you want to sit down and talk about information, it's probably 60-plus hours of instruction and PowerPoints and incredible speakers. Yeah, it was really, really an amazing experience. Thank you guys for letting me attend, and I apologize for missing the meeting. It was a fabulous group of people. Different backgrounds, different experience, different perspective, but everyone wanting to be involved in the, the betterment of our communities as a whole, which was just great to be around. The one thing I would say is applicable to us as a council is that just communication, which I know we've got Courtney working on, but it's the more our citizens can see and know what we are doing, not just the town staff, but us as council members, I think it serves them to see our work. And, we ask them to show up every 4 years and vote for us. And I think that in between those 4 years, we ought to show them what we're doing. Yeah, so that's, yeah. And that's it for me.
Just a quick reminder, we do not meet again till July 28th, 6 o'clock at the Douglas Center. In theory, combined meeting and work session, it may very well just end up being a meeting. Unless we absolutely need a work session topic, which I can always add at the end as a discussion item or something, we will have, as you heard Director Grieve explain, we'll have some hearings and things that need to take place. So, but DCC, 6 o'clock, 28th.
Okay, perfect. In between now and then, happy 4th of July to everyone. Congratulations on 250 years of our country surviving this lovely experiment that we are doing, and each day getting better. I look forward to seeing you guys in July.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. That.
Oh, yeah.